Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week, well, before we get into the video, a quick apology sort of thing or explainer. In the background, you might hear a sort of buzzing noise. It's just a medical pump doing stuff. Unfortunately, it does sometimes make this buzzing noise, and there's not much I can do. There's nothing I can do about it. So again, apologies if it's annoying in the background. Okay, back to the video. So this week I wanted to talk about evolving as an artist and changing styles. Some artists do it, some don't. Is it right? Is it wrong? Of course, if you know me, if you're watching these videos, I'll say there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just you and your own journey in art. So if you want to change styles, that's perfectly valid. You don't need to ask anybody's permission or anything, any of that sort of nonsense. It doesn't make your older art less valid or worthless or anything like that. Some artists, as I say, do change and some don't. One of my favorite art movements is Impressionism, and when I think about the Impressionists, for example, Alfred Sisley, an English artist. Well, his parents were English, but he was born in France and lived in France all of his life. He was involved with the other Impressionists and the Impressionist exhibitions right from day one. But he never changed his style. He kept doing these Impressionist paintings right the way through. Whereas other artists like Claude Monet changed quite a bit. His art became much more abstract later in life. So on screen you can see two paintings, obviously very different styles, obviously by two completely different artists, except of course they're not. They're by the same artist. Her name was Helen Schierbeck, and I'm probably going to mispronounce some of the names in this. She was a Finnish artist, born in Finland, lived there most of her life. She did live in Paris, I think, for a little bit. She was around sort of late 1800s, first part of the 1900s. She was mainly a portrait artist, and she did a lot of self-portraits. So on the left you can see one of her early paintings, and then on the right sort of mid-career painting, and you can see the change in style from this realism, naturalism style to a much more abstract, simplified shapes and lines. But to me it's still a very powerful painting style and works very well. So again, three of her paintings on the left, one of the early style, middle we've already seen, and then on the right a self-portrait towards the end of her life, the end of her career. Now, some people might look at the painting on the left and the painting on the right and say, well, obviously as she was getting old, her artistic abilities deteriorated. She was no longer able to produce good art, etc., etc. And I would take exception with that. I would reject that idea completely. To me, the painting on the right, although it is simplified, the lines and the shapes capture the feeling of old age perfectly. It really, for those of us who are experiencing older age, I think it works. It really captures the idea of old age. So to me, as an artist, she's really developed to the point where just a few lines and she can capture this idea of old age. So the painting on the right to me is by far the most powerful painting of the three. So this idea of evolving, you might change style simply because you're becoming a more able artist. Your skills have developed to the point where you can create this new style, and you can say so much more with the new style compared to the way you used to do it. It doesn't make your old paintings less valid or anything. It just, you've evolved to the point where your art is more powerful and you can create these different styles. Another, if you're interested in this idea of evolving as an artist, a good one to study is this guy Piet Mondrian. I say I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names. He was a Dutch artist. Again, the painting on the left is one of his early paintings, obviously influenced by post-impressionism, some trees, some buildings in the background, typical sort of landscape. The painting in the middle, again a tree, but it's starting to take on a very different style. I think he's becoming much more aware and more interested in how the painting, the drawing divides up the canvas into these shapes, geometrical shapes. So in the case of the tree, the branches creating this sort of lattice or pattern on the canvas. And then on the right is the sort of painting style that most people would associate with Mondrian, I guess. And it's obviously he's gone completely towards this idea of dividing up the canvas into geometrical shapes with dark lines, and also exploring bright primary colors, vivid colors. So a huge evolution as an artist. Okay, we'll look at one more. Just to labour the point. So this is Claude Monet. Claude Monet started out doing these sort of cartoon, caricature type drawings. And then, of course, he's most associated these days with Impressionism. And the painting on the right, Impression Sunrise, is the painting that gave Impressionism its name. And he went on then, of course, towards the end of his life doing the lily paintings in his own garden, which were even more abstract. So you can evolve as an artist, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing to do. It shows that you are becoming more capable as an artist, not less capable. And as I say, I think it's a very empowering thing to do as an artist, because you're taking, you're taking ownership of your own artistic career, sort of thing. You're not asking anybody for permission to change. You're just doing it, and people can come along with you or not. That's up to them. Some people won't, because they like your older style and they think it's better or something. But as an artist, you've got to move forward. You've got to do what you want to do, not just what you think other people want you to do, in my opinion. So if you are on this journey and you're trying to evolve, I guess one thing you could ask yourself is, what do you want your new style to look like? And I think that's the main challenge then. If you have a very clear idea about how you want to evolve and how your style is going to evolve, you have a direction to travel in, and you just have to figure out how to do that. The problem is, if you're not entirely happy with your style, but you're not sure what you want your style to evolve into, at that point, rather than just sort of blindly going around, I would suggest spending time studying art history, studying art movements and other artists. What were they doing? What were they trying to do? Why were they painting in a certain style? The Impressionists, for example, what were they trying to achieve by doing Impressionism? It wasn't just, oh, let's just do this. There were reasons, real reasons why that style evolved and developed when it did. So study that, study art history. And from that, you may find yourself thinking, well, I like this idea, I like that idea. How can I incorporate these into my own artistic journey and start evolving as an artist? It's just getting that idea of a direction of travel that you want to go in. Anyway, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, listening. Again, I say sorry about the buzzing noise in the background. There really isn't anything I can do about that. Hopefully see you again in next week's video.